Philip Zimbardo was born in New York City on March 23, 1933, from a family of Sicilian immigrants. He was the first member of his family to attend college. He completed his bachelor's degree with a triple major in psychology, sociology, and anthropology from Brooklyn College in 1954. He then went on to Yale University, where he completed his master's and received a PhD in psychology. Upon graduating, he became a professor at Yale University until 1960. He then went on to teach at New York University, Columbia University, and upon retirement, finished his career teaching at Stanford University. Philip Zimbardo is a famous psychologist who is best known for his Stanford prison experiment. This experiment involved 24 normal college students who were randomly assigned to be prisoners or guards in a mock prison located in a basement of the psychology building at Stanford. The 2-week planned study into the psychology of prison life ended only after 6 days due to the emotional trauma being experienced by the participants. The students quickly began acting out their roles, with the guards becoming sadistic and prisoners showing extreme passivity and depression. The volunteers knew they were being used in a study, but they did not know when the study would be taking place, so the initial shock of being randomly arrested one morning and taken to the mock prison put them in a mild state of shock. On arrival, the prisoners were stripped, searched, shaved, and deloused, which caused a great deal of humiliation. They were then issued uniforms, ID numbers, and escorted to their cells by the volunteer prison guards. These changes isolated the prisoners, making it harder for them to portray their individual characteristics. The guards themselves were not given any specific instruction or guidelines for the way they were to treat the prisoners. Instead, Zimbardo allowed them to do whatever was needed to keep order in the prison. They were dressed very professional in identical uniforms and wore a whistle around their neck and carried a nightstick. The study shows that before the volunteer prisoners started showing signs of distress, they did not take the guards and their authority seriously. The prisoners mocked the guards, trying to regain their individuality. This, however, was short-lived. The prisoners soon realized that the attitude of the guards was very serious and that they demanded obedience. This began a long string of confrontational battles between the guards and prisoners. The guards used physical punishment and exercises, such as push-ups, in order to show their authority to the prisoners. In the morning of only the second day, a rebellion broke out among the volunteer prisoners. They ripped off their uniforms and locked themselves in their cells by pushing their bed up against the door. In response to this, the guards became very angry and called for backup assistance to the situation. This surprised Zimbardo as well as the rest of the psychologists because they had not thought it would be taken this far. The tactic the guards came up with was to fight back in order to discipline the unruly prisoners and make them obey. In response to the prisoners barricading themselves in their cells, the guards used fire extinguishers on them to get them away from the entrances. Once the guards were able to get into the cells, they stripped the inmate naked, tore apart the beds in the cell, and put the prisoners who had started the rebellion in solitary confinement. As all the non-guards could not be on duty at once, they began rewarding the prisoners for good behavior. The prisoners who had not been involved in starting the riot were allowed to lie in their beds, wash themselves, and brush their teeth and eat, while those who had started the riot were not allowed to. The guards continued to use tormenting tactics to break up the prisoners' relations with each other to avoid further organized resistance. In the case with one prisoner who was a smoker, the guards were able to control his behavior because they decided when and if he was allowed to smoke. Less than 2 full days into the experiment, one inmate began suffering from depression, uncontrolled rage, crying, and other mental dysfunctions. The prisoner was eventually released after screaming and acting crazy in front of the other inmates. On the 3rd day, the study allowed visiting hours for friends and family. The visitation was closely monitored and timed with many rules and restrictions. The next event that added to the prison experiment drama was a rumored escape plan for the prisoners were planning on carrying out directly after visiting hours. The prisoner was going to have some of his friends round up, break into the prison, and free all the prisoners. After one of the guards overheard this plan, an informant was placed in among the prisoners, and the escape never happened. The prisoners who had been thought to have organized the escape were disciplined and harassed with more push-ups and toilet cleaning. At some point, even the prisoners who were thought of as role models, those who obeyed all the guards' commands, were being punished. Going to the bathroom was considered a privilege rather than a necessity, and those who acted out against the guards were made to urinate in a bucket in their cells. By the end of the experiment, there was no unification among prisoners as well as guards. The guards also had won complete control over all the prisoners and were using the authority in its greatest extent. One prisoner had even gone as far as to go on a hunger strike. Refusing to eat, the guards put him into solitary confinement for 3 hours. Instead of the other prisoners looking at this inmate as a hero and following along in his strike, they chanted together that he was a bad prisoner and a troublemaker. The prisoners literally had begun to think that they were real criminals. Prisoners and guards rapidly adapted to their roles, stepping beyond the boundaries of what had been predicted and leading to dangerous and psychological damaging situations. Zimbardo was forced to end the experiment. After the prison experiment, Zimbardo decided to look for ways he can use psychology to help people. This led to the founding of the Shyness Clinic in Milan Park, California, which treats shy behavior in adults and children. Zimbardo's research on shyness resulted in several best-selling books on the topic. Other subjects he was researched included mind control and cultic behavior. Zimbardo is the co-author of the introductory psychology textbook entitled Psychology and Life, which is used in many American undergraduate psychology courses. He also hosted a PBS TV series titled Discovering Psychology, which is used in many college telecourses. In 2002, Zimbardo was elected president of the American Psychological Association. Under his direction, the organization developed the website psychologymatters.org. Also that year, he appeared in the British reality television show The Human Zoo. Participants were observed inside a controlled setting while Zimbardo and other British psychologists analyzed their behavior. In September 2006, Zimbardo joined the faculty at Pacific Graduate School of Psychology as professor of psychology, where he teaches social psychology to doctoral students in the clinical psychology program. Zimbardo's writing appeared in Greater Good magazine, published by the Greater Good Science Center of the University of California. Zimbardo's contributions included the interpretation of scientific research into the roots of compassion, altruism, and peaceful human relationships. Zimbardo, who officially retired in 2003, gave his final Exploring Human Nature lecture on March 7, 2007, on the Stanford campus, bringing his teaching career of 50 years to a close. David Spangel, professor of psychiatric at the Stanford University School of Medicine, called Zimbardo a legendary teacher, saying that he has changed the way we think about social influences.